Hi again. Welcome to another edition of What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. On this week's program, maple syrup. It's usually just starting to flow, but at least one local producer is already tapped out. Youth Haven's Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser is this Saturday night. We find out how you can help, and the Barrie Colts ended last week and began this week on a winning note. But first, the annual inflation rate eased some more in January, down to 5.9% from 6.3% in December. Still, food prices are high, mortgage rates too, and insolvencies are rising as people are unable to stay on top of their monthly bills. Insolvency trustees Hoyes Michalos' annual Joe Debtor survey found millennials account for almost half of all insolvencies in Canada. Mark Borysiak joins us from the Barrie office. Was that expected, Mark, or did it come as a surprise that millennials were on top of that list?
I don't think we were expecting that kind of result, but I don't necessarily think it's surprising given the trends in the demographics. I mean, cost of living's continued to rise, and if you look at the millennial age group, they've had bigger challenges than maybe other age groups. Look at housing, trying to get into a house right now. Houses are more expensive than ever. Education seems to be creeping up in cost. So once you reach that age where you're trying to go to post-secondary education and you're trying to enter the workforce, their barriers would seem a little bit higher than prior generations. The fact that their numbers are up, when you look at it, it's actually not that surprising.
A lot of things there, too. There's student loans they're paying off. They've got credit card debt. They've got other loans that they're paying off, and they're trying to keep up. They're trying to get ahead, but in order to do that, they're mounting an incredible amount of debt.
Yeah, it's difficult. Go back to the rising cost of living. I mean, one of the people I speak to, most of the concerns and one of their biggest costs right now is rent. So I think in our study, we found that rent was getting closer to 45% of your monthly expense. The guidelines like 35%. So when your fixed living costs are increasing at such a high rate, it's going to be difficult on your finances. At the end of the day, you got to put a roof over your head, you got to feed your family, and you got to get to and from work. And when all those costs go up, you have less money to go around at the end of the month, and you have to pay your bills. So you're going to look at what alternatives you have out there.
My mother always used to wonder why there was so much month left at the end of the money. And that's the case for a lot of us right now, and with the situation that we're going through and dealing with it. We're nipping and tucking here and there. We're pulling back in some areas. Some people, I guess, didn't pull back as much as they should have or could have, recognizing that there are people who are in dire straits and would have difficulty doing that anyway. But some of us could make adjustments to keep this kind of thing from happening.
Yeah, you can always try and review your budget. I guess going back to basics is take a look at where your money's going and what you're spending. Are there certain expenses you can try and cut? Luxuries versus needs is always the thing to look at. So it might sound simple, but to quote the finance minister, do you get rid of Disney? Do you get rid of some of your streaming services? It's easier said than done, but it's always a good place to check in with.
I think part of the problem, too, is a lot of people have never lived through something like this before, so they didn't really know how to react. Whereas, here I am. I remember this in the early 80s. So I had half an idea of what to expect, what I was going to have to do to try to get through all this, and also knowing that we're going to come out of it at some point. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't believe that's going to happen.
No, if you look at the millennial generation, I'm a millennial. I graduated right at the end of the Great Recession, so we've never really had high interest rates. Like interest rates got cut in 2008. They've been historically low. They started to creep up. They went right back down, and now look what's happened over the past 12 months. They've increased them at a rate that's never been seen before. So that's a big shock to the system. If you've never had interest rates that high, that's a tough adjustment you're going to have to deal with. If you look at lines of credit, or if you're lucky enough to have a house and you have a mortgage and you look at what that does to your payments, that's a very big shock to your budget very quickly.
And then we go searching for ways to get out of this hole that we've dug. And that could mean high rate loans. It could mean payday loans. And that's just a vicious cycle to get into.
Unfortunately, it is. So payday loans, once they get their teeth into you, it's very difficult to get out. It's a very repetitive business. Most of my clients we talk to, you see that it's not just one payday loan. You're back in there every 2 weeks. And what we found in our studies with those rapid loans, it's kind of a similar process. They're very high interest, larger amounts. Clients are seeming to be getting more and more of them, and the balances are creeping up and up. And at a certain point, cash flow just dries up. and you're at the end of the road. You have to make some tough decisions.
Are lenders being more particular now, or would seem from this that they're not, that they're taking anybody and everybody in and giving them whatever they want?
I would say no. I don't think there's much scrutiny. Can't say for certain, but from our study, it's easy access to credit seems to be the theme. That the reason why the loans are so popular is because it's easy to get into.
Survey didn't just talk about millennials. It was just about everybody in every age group and having some kind of difficulty or carrying some kind of debt load. What did you find there, and were there any surprises?
I think the biggest surprise was that things seem to be getting better, at least from a demographic standpoint, in terms of the household's income side. Income was up, debt was down, but insolvencies are on the rise, which at the end of the day just means times are getting tougher. Costs are going up. People have less discretionary income to be able to make their payments. And so, unfortunately, it's difficult. They're having to look at other options to help themselves.
And as far as insolvency is concerned, it's a bugaboo for a lot of people, and it's a black mark. But it's a chance to start over again and clear the deck. That's
the entire idea. The way I suggest people look at it is that they're tools to help you get a fresh start. The two for consumers would be a bankruptcy or consumer proposal. Some people assert or associate negative connotations to the terms, but at the end of the day, they're there to help you get a fresh start, lower your payments, and allow you to move forward.
And then that gets you set up, and hopefully you learn from all of that. I think there's some kind of counseling that goes along with that too, right?
Correct. There's 2 counseling sessions that you complete. So we go over budgeting, money management, and we're there to help. We put a plan in place to help you be successful, to get you through the process so you do achieve your fresh start. The idea isn't just to set up some payments and never see you again. We are there to help you through the process.
All right. In the meantime, before you get to that point and knowing what you know from this survey, what do you recommend to people as far as keeping things in order, not letting them get out of hand at this point if they haven't already?
Easier said than done, but I think it goes back to the basics of let's look at your budget. At the end of the day, you need a plan for your income, where it's coming from, and then where it's going. So go over your monthly bank statements, go over your expenses, find out where things are going, see where you can cut back, and then put a plan in place to try and pay your debt down. And if you can't, then you take a look at options. What can you do? Maybe a consolidation loan if the bank will help you out. And if you need to, you look at other options out there. Consumer proposals or bankruptcy is an option to help you get that fresh start.
People have more questions. How do they get a hold of you?
You can give me a call, phone number 705-719-4948, or check us out on the internet at hoyes.com.
Thanks for the survey. Thanks for the advice. We'll look forward to talking to you again.
Thanks for having me back.
Mark Borysiak is an insolvency trustee with Hoyes Michalos in Barrie. A word of caution, as you know, Barrie 360 is affiliated with radio station Rock 95, which has become the victim again of scammers putting together fake Rock 95 Facebook pages, asking you to fill out a form in order to claim prizes. While Rock 95 does host contests on its website, it does not ask fans to claim prizes online or request financial information to receive prizes. Long-range forecast calling for a low of -9 on Saturday night. Not the coldest night of this winter, but enough of a chill to give you an idea of what some of Barrie's youth are facing some winter nights. Youth Haven's annual Coldest Night of the Year fundraiser is this weekend. Barrie 360's MJ finding out from Executive Director Lucy Gowers how you can help.
For people that aren't really familiar with how this works, what is it for?
It's for Youth Haven, of course. It's an opportunity for people to come walk with us through the downtown area. We're hoping that it's not going to be too cold, but, we have youth that come to Youth Haven who actually experience trying to find shelter in the dead of the winter. So it's -2 degrees right now with the wind chill of -6, 7. We have youth that are actually trying to find shelter in this kind of weather. So what the walk usually does is it tries to illustrate the challenges of a youth when they're out there looking for a safe, warm place to spend the night.
How many youth do you currently have?
We currently have, at the last count, I believe, was 17 youth staying with us at the shelter. Our capacity is 19, but we also have a transitional housing program where we house up to 15 youth. So on average, we're supporting close to 30 youth, 32 youths most nights. And we're the only shelter, of course, in the county of Simcoe. We do great work, but we don't do it alone. We do it with the support of an amazing community. And so once again, we're reaching out to our community to help support our Coldest Night of the Year walk, which of course the money raised will go towards our youth, our programs, keeping our doors open, the lights on, making sure we've got food on the table and supporting them the best that we possibly can, because we believe that every youth has the potential to do amazing things. And we just want to make sure that we're supporting the youth to the best that they can be as well.
When it comes to the actual event day, where is it going to be held? And I guess, like you said, like walking around the downtown area, yes. How long of a trip does that include? So
you can actually do a 2 or a 5 kilometer walk through the downtown area. The route will take you through downtown, of course, in front of our transitional housing, which is located across from McDonald's, as well as our shelter. So it's an opportunity for you to actually walk past and see where we keep our youth safe, and an opportunity for everyone at the shelter or through transitional to show appreciation by thanking people as they go by. It really is a wonderful opportunity for our community to come and spend some time with us, get to know our staff, get to meet some of our volunteers. We oftentimes have youth helping to support the event as well. After all, this is for them, and they're encouraged by the support that they get, so they want to be out there and doing the best they can as well.
And do you have any set in mind how much you would like to raise?
We would love to raise $80,000 this year. We're at about 58% right now, so we're almost at $50,000. So we're looking for a lot of support from now until Saturday, of course, and of course till the end of the month as well. But we're really hopeful that we're going to make it again this year. We're so impressed by the generosity of our community and by the support that we get on a regular basis. So we're asking you one more time to come on out and walk with us and support our Coldest Night of the Year.
Where can people find more information or to register?
They can actually register at cnoy.org. I never know if it's / or / Barrie. And it'll take you right to our homepage. Bring your toques, your scarves, your mitts, and come on out and walk with us this Saturday. The walk starts at about just after 5 o'clock.
What Barrie's Talking About is a weekly podcast featuring the best Barrie has to offer and more. We've covered a lot of ground since we began last summer, got caught up recently with local singer-songwriter Kyle Walkup, met another in Heather Hill who's making life-affirming, uplifting music at her home in the Blue Mountains, and we learned how to play two-pong, table tennis, using both hands. You can get caught up and make it easy to keep up in the future by subscribing to What Barrie's Talking About through any podcast distributor. Still to come on What Barrie's Talking About, how the Colts did this week and getting sticky in the sugar bush. Now this.
Our community rocks.
It's a well-known fact blood transfusion saves lives. It's also a well-known fact that the world relies on voluntary unpaid donations to fill the need for blood. The need for blood never ends. Canadian Blood Services in Barrie is calling on you to help save a life. Please consider donating today. Appointments are mandatory and must be booked in advance. Book today at blood.ca through the Give Blood app or by calling 1-888-2-DONATE.
Our community rocks on Barrie's Rock Station. Rock 95.
This is What Barrie's Talking About from Barrie 360. I'm Dan Blakely. The Barrie Colts didn't gain any ground last week on the North Bay Battalion for first place in the OHL Central Division. They didn't lose any ground either, and they still have 5 games in hand heading into tonight's game against Erie. Barrie 360's Will Conkin gets our weekly update from Colts broadcaster and reporter Jean Pereira.
So the Colts were poised to finally best North Bay last week. They beat the Niagara Ice Dogs 5-1 and Hamilton 6-3, but then lost to the Battalion 4-2. Had a good comeback win, though, over the Frontenacs, 4-0, and it marked Braden Hachey's first game back in Kingston since getting dealt to Barrie. You talked with Hachey. What was his mindset heading into that game? Lots of memories there for him, for sure, eh?
Yeah, I think so. He obviously he enjoyed his time in Kingston, and any time you go back, especially the first time, it's different. It's where he grew as a junior player, but obviously he joins the Colts team with an opportunity to win a championship, and but he got a pretty good reception back at home. They had a nice little video for him during the first period midway break there. They had a little bit of video for him, so it was nice to see. But I think for him, as well, getting a win at home, I think it's always nice when you come back home and get a win there.
And then I saw on the schedule as well, the Battalion lost in the end, 3-2 in overtime in Ottawa. How big of a kind of moment was that for Barrie to kind of get the win against Kingston and get a couple of wins the last week and then see North Bay lose?
Yeah, obviously it's tough. They gained a point on him to move within 5 points, and losing the head-to-head game was tough for Barrie. I think obviously there's some disappointment there, especially the fact that he jumped out to a 2-0 lead in that game on Saturday, and then had a 2-1 lead entering the third. And Marty Williamson again just expressed how they have to learn from it. Some costly turnovers kind of spurred the Battalion's comeback, but Marty kind of brought out an old golf saying of, you don't get bitter, you get better. And I think that was his message to his team coming out of that North Bay game. And they jumped back with a solid effort in Kingston and shutout, and got to within 5 points. There's still some time here. It's going to be difficult, but those head-to-head games were key. But North Bay had the edge, winning 5 of 6 against Barrie. So I think the thing is now is obviously the message Marty Williams is trying to preach to his club is that that all they can do is take care of what they can handle, which is the games in hand. And they got some games coming up against teams that are 500 or lower, and an opportunity to kind of maybe get back to within striking distance of North Bay.
Yeah, I was just about to say the Colts have the Erie Otters on Thursday, Oshawa Generals Saturday, and Niagara again for Sunday. That definitely seems like a good stretch for them to grab some wins.
Yeah, and I think, obviously before last week, a couple of trap games there, you're facing a Niagara team that is last place in the Ontario Hockey League. Then you're going into Friday in Hamilton, we're a team that's made some moves, look to the future and rebuilding, and those can be traps sometimes when you got a game like North Bay that you're looking to, that you can kind of tend to overlook those two. But the good thing was that the Colts they kind of took care of business, and I think that's probably the same way they'll approach this week, obviously, with games against Erie, and Oshawa and Niagara again. When I keep you ask about those games, and Marty just always always brings up the fact that on any given night in this league anybody can win, and they've learned that you learn that lesson over the years, and it has to be the same approach as that they take it. They look at the game that's ahead of them and take care of that. And again in Kingston it was really good. Good bounce back for Barrie. They controlled that hockey game from the start. They didn't get the offense going into the third. The power play got 3 power play goals and got them going, but they really controlled play, and it's something that they've done here over these last few weeks, and that they certainly hope to continue this week.
That's Colts color man Gene Pereira in conversation with our Will Conkin. America has its apple pie. Here in Canada, it's maple syrup. We have it on pancakes and waffles. Bacon is marinated in it. Canned beans are mixed in it. But producers had to be on the ball this year. The sap started running early. Barrie 360's Ian McLennan caught Tom Shaw at Shaw's Maple Syrup in Oro-Medonte between his stacks of pancakes.
Maple syrup time. A lot of people think, of course, they think about that as we roll into March, in the middle of March, but this is the earliest tapping of the trees at your location in 119 years?
This has been a phenomenally warm February, and the sap started running quite early. Oftentimes the trees will start warming a little bit with the heat, but not as much as this year. We've gotten a lot of sap out of the trees.
Does that impact operations in any way, or you just always are prepared for this time of year?
Well, we keep trying to get prepared a little earlier, but this year was even earlier again, so it made us scramble in the bush, but we were able to get tapped up fairly quickly because we weren't on snowshoes this year, so it went fast.
Are you tapped out?
We are so. We have all 4,500 trees tapped, and we've gotten a phenomenal amount of sap already. We've brought in 37,000 liters of sap so far and made 820 liters of maple syrup.
Now, is this sold generally to the public through Barrie, or do you also export this at all to other provinces, or how do you do that?
No, we're like your local craft brewery where we have actually generations of families that come out and buy our maple syrup that we're thrilled to see each year. And so it's really a local thing, really a Barrie. Lots of Toronto people that have cottages make this part of their family tradition that come out as well.
Now, this early tapping of the trees, Tom, has it become, I don't know what a normal winter is anymore, but have you found over the past years that this has become the norm?
It is, and we think, we will tap a little bit early this year, and it doesn't seem like we're tapping too early. You don't want to drill the holes in the trees too early in the spring or the winter because they'll dry out. You want it to be close to the time that the sap's going to start flowing. And like I say, it just keeps getting a little bit earlier. Last year was the earliest season that we've ever made syrup, and it was February 22nd. But it was only a little bit. It was 15, 20 gallons worth of syrup made. This year is a full week earlier, but huge volumes.
In terms of the syrup that is made and the process that goes into it, I recall talking to you a number of years ago where you said Mother Nature can be your best friend or worst enemy. If you just, in layman terms, describe the process to get, what you need to make good maple syrup.
We need freezing nights to stop any flow of sap in the tree, and then a rapidly warming day, hopefully with some sunshine, because the sun warms the dark branches up even more. That creates a surge of sap in the tree. So from one year to the next, we never know the volumes of sap that we're going to get, but it's nice with the tubing system because we're all connected in out there. Whatever happens with the trees, we get it, and it's an agricultural crop, so you can't count on on it each year. It's going to be different.
And so are you open for business now? And people, if they want to bite into a pancake and pancakes and have some syrup, you're available?
Come on out. We're open every day until mid-April. We open at 8 a.m. and the grill gets turned off at 3:30, and we've got horse-drawn wagon rides on the weekends that takes you for a loop through the bush. It's a really great family place to come with all generations, and the kids can get jacked up on sugar and go out and be loud in the bush.
Well, this interview is being done on Shrove Tuesday, Pancake Tuesday. So, what are you having for dinner tonight?
I am having some pancakes and delicious maple syrup.
You're not a sinner. Thanks, Tom.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye now.
Shaw's is located on Line 14 South in Oro-Medonte. Their website is shawscatering.com. And that's our program for this week. Thanks to Ian, MJ, and Will for their input, and to Matt Ladder for his technical expertise, and to you for taking the time to listen. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe to What Barrie's Talking About. Rate it, review it. You can also keep up with What Barrie's Talking About on Facebook and Twitter at Barrie360 and on our website, Barrie360.com. I'm Dan Blakely. Hope you'll join us again next week.